there's 11 games for sure left this season. So we got a lot of football left. The season never stops after 5 games. It's been 2 disappointing weeks for us, but I can promise you that we'll find a way to bounce back. Our team is mentally tough. We're resilient, and we got a great team coming up when we get back from this thing. So it's disappointing, but we'll stay connected and we'll find a way to respond. I trust that.
We've been 3-2 before and made the playoffs 2 years ago, and if I remember correctly, the Patriots were 3-2 last year and won the Super Bowl. And so there's a lot of game left. We've got a really good group in there, and yeah, we're gonna bounce back. We're fine. Obviously you don't want to lose 2 in a row at any point, but we got another big division one next week, so we got no time to waste.
That's Sean McVay, Rams coach, followed by Jared Goff, Rams quarterback. They're both referring to the next game up after the mini bye. San Francisco 49ers coming to Los Angeles. But, Big Cat, there was some good and some bad for the Rams last night. I want to start with Goff. He threw for 912 yards this week, from Sunday to Thursday. Last night, he was 29 of 49 for 395, 1 touchdown and 1 pick. And part of it, I think, was offensive design because guys were open, especially underneath. I don't know what the Seahawks were doing, but it seemed like on every play that Jared Goff dropped back, he had a guy wide open somewhere 15 yards from the line of scrimmage, but he was delivering the ball accurately. And I thought that he looked better than I thought he would because, number one, he wasn't getting a ton of pressure, and when he doesn't have pressure, he can carve you up.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I thought he looked good last night as well. The Bucs game, he'll be the first to tell you, and I'm sure he said it, that was a bad game for him, and that was a big reason for why they, lost, because he put his defense in bad situations. But last night, Jared Goff played winning football. Their defense wasn't able to hold up in the end, but he played winning football. I don't think Jared Goff is the problem. I also, the underneath stuff that you mentioned, it's so interesting to see how different the team looks with Cooper Kupp healthy and what they're able to do with him in the offense. It makes you think what would have happened last year if he never goes down. But the Rams offense to me is not the problem, and it's not something I'd be worried about if I was a Rams fan or on the Rams staff, especially with some of the teams they have coming up on the schedule. And I always say this, Mike, it's so funny how we perceive these losses and when they happen, and if they happen back to back, and you go into the season saying the Rams should beat the Bucs, they're going to be, almost 10-point favorites. They should beat the Bucs. Then they lose and everyone's panicking. Well, the Rams also won a really tough game week 1 on the road against the Panthers. They won a pretty tough game in a very loud environment, night game, week 3 against the Browns. So this is how the NFL schedule plays out. The wins that you think are wins could be losses and vice versa. And if you look at what they have coming up, they have the 49ers on the dreaded Mike Florio, Rams long week, 49ers short week. Then at the Falcons and Bengals, it feels like they will probably win the next 3 games, and we'll be sitting here saying, hey, the Rams are fine. The Rams are fine. They're one of the best teams in the NFC.
One guy we didn't mention, Gerald Everett, had a career night last night. We saw him plenty in the highlights that we rolled. And, the offense was moving at will, but it really sputtered when it felt like they were going to score a touchdown on that final drive. And then all of a sudden the air went out of the balloon. There was a couple of incompletions. There was a delay of game, Brad Childress move by the LA Rams that got them pushed back 5 yards. And then, Gerald Everett got it a little closer for that last try to make it a 44 instead of a 53. It just felt like the Rams, well, obviously they couldn't close the deal or they would have won the game, but they were moving the ball at will most of the night, and that always will be there. But Big Cat, the defense, I don't know whether something's up with Aaron Donald physically. There were stretches where he wasn't in the game, and he wasn't his usual dominant self. Now, there were moments where he was blanketed by 3 guys. There were just a couple of times where he made plays, but if that front 4 can't create pressure, it requires guys like Aqib Talib and Marcus Peters to hold their receivers longer. And when those guys are pressed, they can't get it done anymore.
Yeah, Aaron Donald's hurt. I'll say it. I don't know if he was on the actual injury report, but he hurt his back against the Saints. You saw him go to the tunnel in that game a couple weeks ago. As someone who has a bad back myself, I'm not a doctor, but I know those don't heal overnight. So I wouldn't be surprised if Aaron Donald's not playing at 100%. And while even at 75% or whatever you want to call it, he's one of the most dominant players in the NFL, that little bit could be the difference between getting to the quarterback or having, creating a spot where your teammates can get to the quarterback. And you're right, once that front 4 can't get pressure, it all kind of falls apart for them because that's what they're built on. They're built on getting pressure up front, having Aaron Donald be the most dominant defensive player outside of Khalil Mack. And when that doesn't happen, you see what you get.
He's not on the injury report, although he is injured, and we know how that goes. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.